Hey, I'm joining you today to share a layout I've created as part of the Craft IQ May kind of challenges. So what happens is over the period of a week or so, 7 different elements are added to a concept for a layout, and for this number one was mixed media on plain cardstock, and a little was okay, but I did add quite a bit here, even though you can't necessarily see it. It's quite a thick layer with these gorgeous gloss acrylic sprays. It says at least 2 contrasting patterned papers creating a vertical design. Number 2, represent music, use it in your title, embellishments, subject of your photos, and incorporate it any way you can. Add stars. Number 4, use 2 different fonts for your title, make sure to have 3 of something and use a punch. Number 5, use something in your stash that is at least 5 years old or your oldest item. Number 6, add sequins and splatters. Number 7, add stitching, faux, stamped by hand or machine. So what I, after letting the gloss acrylic sprays, which was my part of the first part of the challenge, I decided to tuck in this stars cut file, which I believe is by Confessions of a Paper Addict. I'll link all of the used items, not necessarily link, I will list all of the items I've used in the information about the video. So I've just used a little bit of liquid gloss around at various points of the stars because I didn't necessarily want them to be completely stuck down all the way around. So now I'm just adding the vertical design using contrasting pattern papers, and I just went into my scraps box and grabbed a few out, trimmed them down a little bit to size, and now I'm just going to layer them just slightly to the left of centre here. And so I've gone they're contrasting in both colour and also in design. So you've gone from some plain stripes there, or the plaid, to a very floral detailed design, and now there's a wood grain and something with a little bit of a leaf kind of pattern on. And there was another one which I ended up not using. And so I have covered number 1, which was mixed media, and the contrasting pattern papers. And I've added stars, which is number 3. I've decided I'll use number 2 for my title, and now I am going through and using the old items. So I found a box of ribbon in a cupboard that I hardly ever use, and I'm thinking they're at least 5 years old because it's a long time since I opened that box. So I just pulled out some different ribbons. I've got a nice green velvet, and then there was sort of a wood grain that must have come in some pack somewhere along the line, and then I decided to use this sort of green lace. The photo that I'm going to be adding on has a little bit of a yellow green in it, of an empty section across the road when we first moved into the house we're still in now. There's now a house over there, and they've actually just had their 3rd child while they've been in that house recently. So we've been here for probably about almost 15 years, if not, I think we're about coming up to 15. I decided to trim down the photo. So the photo was actually my son supposedly out helping my husband in the garden. The tree too, when we look at this photo on his left, but on the right of the photo for us, is a quince tree, and recently we've harvested this and been making quince paste in the Thermomix, which I must say is one of the easiest ways to make quince paste ever. Totally recommend it if you've got access to one and you're wanting to do that kind of thing. Anyway, I do decide to pull out a floral paper. I just quite liked the colours and the brightness and the interest, and the fact that he is out in a rather sparse garden at this point. And I backed the photo with some white daisy cardstock as well. So I am now going to add splatters, which is number 6, which was to add sequins and splatters. I did it in the other order. So I figured that I'd probably want the splatters down first before I pop some sequins on top. And so I'm just taking away the multi-purpose mat there. which I love for using for mixed media because it just does wipe clean. And I'm using a little bit of thin foam tape to put the photo onto the background, just because the papers are a little bit uneven. I find that the foam tape helps to level it out a little bit, but still add a little bit of dimension. Excuse my voice, I'm still sort of getting over a bit of a cold. Now, one of the things, number 4, 2 different fonts for the title, which I'll do towards the end. It says have 3 of something, and I have used 3 ribbons, but I am going to use 3 of something else soon. And use a punch. So I've just used a circle punch there, cut it out of part of the top, and I'm just backing that with a little bit of striped pattern paper, which kind of contrasts an angle to the other vertical features that I've got going down the page. And I am now looking through my little pouch of sequins and embellishments and things. I found some stars, found a few other bits and pieces that I'm going to add to this page. So this little pouch was one I put together recently to head down to a crop day, because I didn't want to take everything, and I've actually quite enjoyed just using the limited supplies that are in this collection that I put together even after the crop day. So I found some sort of semi-transparent sequins, and I'm using some blue and some yellow because it just ties in with the colours of the photo and the papers that I've used so far. And I'm just randomly popping these sequins around. I like that these are self-adhesive. It makes adding them a whole lot easier because I'm not having to put down some liquid glass or a glue dot and then put the sequin down. I quite enjoy the simplicity of that, and then just that touch of yellow with a few of them. So I'm going to pull out some more stars, which is part of the requirement, but I have fulfilled that with the star background. But I'm going to use 3 stars, so this is kind of my 3 of something. And so I'm just using some green Tombow to add these to the page. And there we have some natural wooden stars sort of tucking onto the page there. And so I still have to add some stitching, and I'm going to add some sort of dark coloured stitching around the punched out circle that I've backed with pattern paper. So I'm just piercing some holes around this, so I've got some places to stitch, and I will do most of the stitching off camera. So I'm now just choosing some colours from my little bag of embroidery floss that I took with me down to that crop as well. And I realise that the ribbon's not fully stuck down at the top, so I just add a little bit more green Tombow under the pattern paper and hold it down for a little bit to give it a chance to set. And so this little pouch that I just kept my needles in, I had created that for a kit that I took down for the ladies at the same crop, at an earlier crop than the one that I've went to recently. Super handy. It's a little matchbook with a piece of felt attached into it, and I found it brilliant for keeping my needles together. So I did the stitching off camera, and now I'm adding the 2 different fonts for my title. And the title is one from a song, and it is a song called Make a Silly Face, and it's by Bounce Patrol, so it's obviously a kid's song. And the journaling that I add to this, basically I take the chorus, which is, you can make a silly face, you can make a silly face, turn a frown upside down, spread some love and joy around, and make a silly face. You can make a silly face, spread some cheer, clouds disappear, there's no better place, so make a silly face. And this just sort of fitted the personality of my son at this time, and the silly face that he's trying to pull while he's meant to be helping his father, or while he had offered to help his father in the garden. I think it was more that he wanted to play with the tools. But anyway, so here's just a quick snippet of the finished page. Check out Instagram or Scrappykea on Facebook for a copy, a full image. Thanks. Please check out the information below to find out other people who have had a go at using the Craft IQ Challenge for May.